Hello friends, I'm Katie. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about a dog bite and some lessons I learned on a bad day. If I've learned anything from the last number of years, things do not always go as planned and sometimes they go haywire. I think this weekend was probably a prime example of that, and it's really just how we choose to respond to them that's important. This past weekend was Labor Day weekend and I had a lot of things planned, but Saturday my dad wanted to go pick up something that my mom had found on Marketplace. Well, maybe he didn't want to go pick it up, but he was going to, and asked me if I wanted to go along with him to maybe do some yard sailing on the way back. Decided to take Bailey with us to get us out of the house. We're trying to acclimate him to driving more. Of course, he was enjoying the ride and the wind in his ears along with his favorite friend Lammy. He enjoyed a good run in a field nearby, and then we stopped at a yard sale on the way back and things turned south really quickly. We got out of the car, put Bailey on the leash, and ended up walking up to this yard sale. It was a large yard, and this dog, I spotted him from a distance. He spotted Bailey, and it happened so quickly. It seemed a lot longer, but I'm going to say probably, in all fairness, it was a minute of just trying to keep this dog away from our dog. Clearly I just got in the way of this dog's agenda. I don't really think he was after me per se. He just wanted to get our dog. And there was definitely a size difference. I won't go into the details because I don't want to bring up anything that maybe somebody else has gone through that's been worse. I know there's a lot worse out there. It is a little bit traumatic, and mine ended up being very minor. It could have been a whole lot worse. And that is, I think, the thing that keeps going through my head that I'm so thankful for. So I just want to keep it to that and talk about the lessons I learned. But thankfully, Bailey did walk away completely unscathed other than a little tuft of hair. And I ended up with a bite on my thumb, which is not the most convenient. Also some bruising, scratches, a nice little bruise on my face. I ended up in urgent care. They gave me a free pass and said, you're good to go, got a shot, did all the things, antibiotics, and all of that. Of course, all of our plans for the weekend flew out the window because the priority was now making sure Bailey was actually okay. And there was no immediate, obvious concern for Bailey, but checked him out, was totally fine. He's running around like normal. I'm sure we might see him in a minute. And I just have to take the time to heal, which is not my favorite. It is very inconvenient that I now have lack of use on my dominant hand of my thumb. I had no idea how much I used my thumb until I'm down one. So yeah, not my choice of a good day. 10 out of 10 don't recommend doing this for a weekend. On a situation like this, it's really easy to get angry and upset and, you know, respond in a poor way. We chose kindness and graciousness. The guy clearly was very bothered and upset and apologetic, offered to, you know, give us his phone number. What can I do? Blah, blah, blah. Very nice. And, you know, we could have responded in a horrible way and lashed out at him and told him what a jerk he was and, you know, all of the things, but it wasn't worth it. It wasn't necessary. His dog on a leash. My dad did say, like, hey, you probably should. You don't know who's going to come up. We think we're all okay. We're going to go get checked. But overall, it was just a moment to choose kindness, which we did. We chose kindness and graciousness and walked away from. You know, when you go through stuff like this, I think this is when our true character shows. When God tests us in the middle of these things to see what our reactions are. And we have a choice. We all have a choice, whether we go, you know, crazy mad or revengeful or try to get even or try to take control of the situation, or you just go, you know what, this is God's, he is sovereign, and is this not what I had planned for me? No. And it's pretty obvious that God's hands are more capable than mine. I think overall my attitude was just one of thankfulness. Thankful Bailey was okay. Thankful it wasn't worse. Thankful that my dad was fine. I was still a little worried about this and not knowing how bad it was, but for what had happened, it really could have been so much worse. The dog could have turned on me. The dog could have turned on my dad. It really could have been a lot worse situation. And I feel a little awkward talking about this. I'm not trying to like toot my own horn or brag about, oh, how great I was in this response. I actually have a lesson that I learned from this. I was walking through this process. I really started to think about how my attitude was in all of this and what has really changed over the past few years. Now, with all the loss that I've experienced and the really some traumatic things that had happened in my life that were very emotional, I had gotten to a place where I was starting to get in the mode of thinking that nothing good was ever going to happen. And that's a really not a good place to be. I don't recommend that at all. But just where I would almost come to expect bad things rather than good things. So if an opportunity came up, I'd say, it's not going to turn out. Or, you know, I would fear something bad happening, or if I go there, I would have this little sense of dread that something awful was going to happen. It just over and over, it was kind of a mindset that I had after so many bad things had happened, that is anything good ever going to happen again? And that is really a place of fear and not of faith. And it was a struggle for me. It was really something that I had hit a real low of just going, has God forgotten me? Does he even remember that I'm here? Even though in my head I knew it, or maybe in my heart, I don't know, one or the other. Biblically, I know it, but in my circumstances, it did really feel like it was constant failure. It was constant bad things. It was constant, just things that would go south and out of my control, that I just, whether it was the loss of my business, the loss of my niece and nephew, not physically, but no longer seeing them, the loss of friends, people moving away, the loss of my dog, so many things had happened, almost losing my mom. It was so many things on top of other things, that it just felt like nothing good could happen. Nothing good could come of anything that I was involved in. I started to empathize a little bit with Job. I had read Job before and really didn't connect with that, but I was starting to feel that sense of like loss, major loss. So I really feel like God has been working on me and renewing my mind. I've been very diligent about reading the scriptures, focusing on Philippians 4:8, which I will put up here. That is an excellent one if you do struggle with this mindset of like thinking nothing good will ever happen in your life again. It's not true. It's not true. And it is really the renewing of our minds that can make that difference. And so I realized this last Saturday as we were going through this, that my attitude wasn't one of, well, of course this happened. Everything bad always happens. Of course this happened to me. Why wouldn't it happen to me? Which was my old way of thinking. I just was overwhelmed with thankfulness and gratitude that we were okay, that it wasn't worse. So I had seen such a shift in my thinking, and it gave me such hope. It was like God still is working. It might be quiet, it might be subtle, it might not be obvious, but he's chipping away at those things in my heart and starting to renew my mind, which was such a struggle for me for so long. So if you find yourself in a place where you're just doubting God's goodness, you're doubting that he's forgotten you, maybe you're thinking that nothing good can ever happen in your life. It's not true. Allow God to start changing your mind. Start reading the scriptures, especially Philippians 4:8. Renew your mind on those things. Think on what is true. If there's anything lovely, if there's anything excellent, think on those things. And I promise you, because I've seen it in myself, and I saw this last weekend how in the past I would have spiraled and just been like, this is awful. I would have been defeated. Is it inconvenient? Sure. But God can use anything and turn it for good. So I am just choosing daily. Do I still struggle sometimes? Yeah, but I felt like that was such an encouragement to me this last weekend that God, it's been a long journey, that God has really started to chip away at that way of thinking and is renewing my mind and renewing my heart. And when you see those little things and those little changes, it just gives you hope. I just hope that this story offered you hope and it made you realize that God still can change hearts. He still can change minds. And if you're at that place, he can change you too. So until next time. And if you don't believe me that Bailey's okay, hold on just a moment.